All right, yo, what's up? So this video is about thinking differently. I want you to consider the possibility that there is a way in which that you could think, which would then translate to the way in which you conduct yourself, which would then technically, hopefully, translate into different results that you would get in your life. Let me explain. So back in July, I was talking to a friend of mine about making some content. And of course, in this day and age, you can't make enough content. Gary Vee says make 50 pieces of content a day. And who knows, by the time you're watching this, he might have said now make 100 pieces of content every day. For me, that's not realistic. It just isn't the way that it's not the way that I think. I'm not there yet, let's just say. I don't think that way yet. Maybe in 3 months or 6 months from now, I will take my own advice, think differently, and be able to pull that off. So by thinking differently, I mean, I look back to July 1st of this year. And I was thinking about putting out content, and I started talking to a bunch of friends of mine, just basically saying, how can I get to the point where I'm putting out more, better content? And, these videos are one example. Obviously there's all the other social media channels. But what he suggested, I was saying, I'd like to do some sort of show, I don't want it to just be these vlog things. I kind of want it to be something that has a little bit more production value behind it. And I wanted it to be a bigger thing. And, maybe you see yourself as a bigger deal than other people see you as. And that gap is what needs to be crossed, or narrowed, whatever. That gap between how you think of yourself and how you're perceived needs to be bridged in some way via the work that you do. So I was thinking, I want to do this show. I want to do this thing that is a big deal. Shows either, my personal training business, or maybe, has skits with people weightlifting and talking about the right way and the wrong way to do things. And really just wanted to try to present my psychology and my style and my philosophy via the media channels that are out there. And we kept coming up with these different ideas, and everything kind of had an expense associated with it. Every bit of it was, going to be a production. It was going to have someone come in with a camera. There was going to, at minimum, a camera with some sound and then some editing. And to have that done well and done right, it's always going to cost some money. Because then you're going to, it just, again, you don't want to do anything half-assed, right? So this is, get a decent cameraman, they should be paid, and you might as well do sound and lights at the same time. Even if it's only one person that does that, it's going to cost you a couple $100. So there's that. Then there's anyway, so you get it. So it's a lot of production. And this guy, friend of mine, Chris Aurelio, he happened to say, why don't you do a solo comedy show, which I had some experience doing stand-up and improv in the past, and I'd done some television commercials, over 70 to be exact, or exactly in the ballpark of when I stopped counting. But I had already had some success in that vein, and so then it just became, well, why not do that? Meaning, do the solo show. And it was okay, sure, let's do it. I'll do a solo show. So just a few days ago, Friday night was my show, and I put 5 months of work into this thing, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life in regards to performing and performances. And it makes these videos that I'm doing so much more real for me. Meaning that I changed the way I was thinking. I said, forget it. Rather than making a video or there needs to be this big production, I'm going to just work on writing what I can control and then getting on stage in front of an audience and just spitting it out and seeing what happens. And in that process, it kind of put me on what I feel is another level. So if I feel I'm on another level, I am on another level. That's thinking differently. So I thought differently July 1st and said, let me try this other strategy of quote unquote content creation spent the months writing and refining it, preparing it, getting to that night of where you just have the butterflies and the sheer, horror or terror of getting on stage in front of, it was maybe 60 or so people, but it was a full house. It was a sold out show. And that made me feel that I could do other things. It also made me feel like my voice matters, So however you get there, but you have to start with that initial seed of, let me try something different. Let me just do something different. And then what's funny is I woke up this morning, I pulled out a pair of sandals that I have that are barefoot running sandals. And I would say, and I haven't worn them in months. And I'm like, you know what? I don't need to do barefoot running. But if I walk to and from work barefoot in these barefoot sandals made by Xero Shoes, if I'm really on my game, I'll put a link down there so you can buy them and I can get some credit for it. But the fact is like, I believe in their product. I really like Xero Shoes. And I believe that they do help reconstruct your feet by forcing you to walk properly. Why am I telling you that? Why am I plugging their product? Not because I'm trying to make money by selling Xero Shoes. It's just that it requires different thinking. I got up today and I said, you know what? I'm just going to walk in them. There's benefit to that. It's going to challenge my feet. It's going to make me feel better. It's going to make me feel accomplished. It's going to give me something to talk about in this video. It's so silly. But it's like, now, if I keep doing that, I was thinking, I could walk to work 2 or 3 days a week. 2 or 3 days a week, I could skateboard. Now, I have retained the ability as a 40-something-year-old man to skate. But it's only because I'm just skating a couple blocks every day. I'm not saying I'm going to be able to like shred it, do power slides and blunt slides and nose grabs and McTwists on the way to work. But the fact is like just that sensory feel, having the foot and the conditioning of having the foot on the board, pushing, getting over some bumps and some cracks in the pavement. That's the stuff that really messes you up when you're trying to skate, is those little technical aspects of just the rolling around. Once you have that down and those muscles are hardwired, all of a sudden you go, let me get the ollie back. You get the ollie back. Let me get the kickflip back. Boom. All of a sudden there you have tricks. And that's probably as good as I've ever been at skating. If I could ride down the block, ollie onto a curb or kickflip up onto a curb, I'd be like, that dude's badass skateboarder, And all it requires is just that thinking. I mean, I could that way I could say, man, I still skate 3 days a week. It's like a half mile each way. I skate a mile every day, But that's what I'm talking about. You think a little differently. All of a sudden, 6 months from now, it's like, I'm a skater. I'm doing shows. Got a business that I run. Plus I'm a middle-aged guy with like a wife and 2 kids. So it's like, it can be all good. It should be all good, right? Why not? There's too much suffering out there for it to not be. That's what it's all about. All right, guys, hit me up.